So, Matt, what do you call a snake that is exactly 3.14 meters long?
Pie snake.
A big-ass snake.
Good.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales. All right, everybody, here we are again. Matt, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I'm doing okay.
Good. So before we get into it, I'll apologize for my voice. The boy was sick. I guess he got the flu from school, and so I played nurse dad while he was sick, and I think he gave it to me. So I'm fighting it off, hence why my voice sounds the way it does.
Yep. Man, it sucks, dude. I mean, it does. It is the worst.
There's just been
getting this upper respiratory bullshit, flu, whatever.
Well, and this year it's been bad for flu and cold and everything already. So hopefully it goes away pretty quick. But if that's why I sound odd, there's your reason. But before we get into it, we'll say go check out the Podbelly Network at podbelly.com. We're proud to be members of the Podbelly Network, and if you want to start podcasting or anything, they got info on their website. So go over there, podbelly.com, and check it out. Also, go to patreon.com/graveyardtales. You can sign up to become a patron. We've got 3 different levels, and we have a buttload of backlogged bonus episodes that you will enjoy. If you want to get our second show, Side Quest, that's for our $10 a month patrons. And you get, for $10 a month, you get not only Side Quest audio and video, but you get the ad-free audio and video versions of the main episodes, plus the bonus episodes every week. So go over there, check it out, patreon.com/graveyardtales, and go support our sponsors. We only pick the sponsors that we like their product. We're not going to just sell you something to get their money. So if we talk about it, we like it.
Here's this piece of garbage, buy it. We're not going to do that.
No. No, we have turned down sponsors because we don't agree with their product.
Right. So if we like it, we think you guys will like it. So we will advertise it on our show. So it's worth checking out.
Right.
I mean, just go take a look at it. It may be a great value, or it may be just something really super cool. Go give it a look. I mean, we like this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason we are, talking about them and that they're sponsoring the show is because we like what they do. And you can find links in our show notes to our vanity URLs with them and stuff like that. But on that note, Matt, what are we talking about tonight, brother?
So tonight we're gonna talk about something it's funny, we kind of come full circle. We're not really full circle yet, but we're just adding to the circle on something we discussed about a year ago or so. We're gonna talk about another piece of this puzzle, a man named Paul Bennewitz. And we've mentioned Bennewitz before. He has made an appearance in stories we've talked about in other places, but he is a very, I don't know. He's a unique and sad case.
Yeah.
And when you start looking into UFOs it's kind of like looking into the void because
Yeah.
the UFOs look back. and the UFOs looking back may not be what you think it is.
Right. Right.
And that was the case for Paul Bennewitz. So, but the area that he investigated, the area that he was involved with is just, it is rife with UFO stories. I mean, this is like the core. This is the center of the beehive right here. Okay. So Adam, we're gonna talk a little bit about who he was, where he was, the places that he was looking into, and then we're gonna give you his story. So sit back and relax. This one is I think you're going to enjoy this one, and you're going to be surprised when we get to the end if you've not heard this story before.
Right, right. So, as we always say, go check our sources down on the bottom of the show notes. You can find where we found all this information. You can keep going because, Matt and I have not ever been out to this part of the world enough to investigate this. So, we're taking from those who have new Bennewitz and all this stuff. But check our sources down on the bottom of the show notes. Now, this story, like Matt was saying, it gets pretty involved. So first, we need to look at who Paul Bennewitz was. Now, Paul Frederick Bennewitz Jr. was born on September 29th, 1927. Now, he served in World War II as a radio electronics engineer for the Coast Guard at the age of 17.
Yeah.
So if that tells you anything about this guy's intelligence, and, we'll add to that as we go, but this is a smart guy.
Yeah.
And
no slouch.
No. And he's into radio electronics engineering during World War II. And that technology is only going to improve as he gets older, and so is his knowledge on that. Now, after the war, he worked as an engineer for the CBS station KPIX in San Francisco and KPHO in Tucson. Now, on February 25th, 1949, Bennewitz married Cindy Bunch in Phoenix, Arizona. And then around 1953, they moved out to New Mexico, and he started working for Galton Industries in the sales department. Now, about 1966, Bennewitz actually acquired the rights to a humidity sensor from Sandia National Laboratories, and he founded his own company, Thunder Scientific. And it was a small family business. His wife, Cindy, was working as the bookkeeper for the company. So like any small business or business that you start yourself, your family helps out with that, and you all kind of work together. I know it's that way for Graveyard Tales. Matt and I have forced our families into helping us. So
yes.
Whether they want to or not, they are helping us. Now, Thunder Scientific specialized in manufacturing humidity calibration and generation equipment. So the company, they say, is known for producing high-precision humidity generators and calibration systems based on the NIST-proven two-pressure principle. So already, even if you don't know what that means, it sounds good. It sounds smart.
Yeah. If you said that to me, I'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, explain that to us, because there's probably somebody out there that doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
I do, but, explain it as if somebody doesn't know. Now, by 1981, Thunder Scientific was doing about $1 million in sales. So from a small family business to doing $1 million in sales in 1981, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to put it mildly, that's good. The company's workforce had gone from 30 employees in 1978 to 18 in 1981, but they were still doing that business. So during the 70s, Thunder Scientific actually did some business with Kirtland Air Force Base, which that'll come up here in a second. During the 70s, Bennewitz, he joined Arizona's Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, or APRO, which was a civilian UFO investigation group. Now, I heard, Matt, I was listening to something about Bennewitz, and I heard this mentioned, the Arizona's Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, and I thought they said Afro. And I went, what? I'm like, phenomena is with a P. No. And then it took me a minute. I had to, APRO. But I was like, phenomena with an F? No. Now, in July of 79, he decided that he was going to, go out on his own. And so he started doing a personally funded study into UFOs. So Bennewitz developed this, fascination with UFO research. And they say that it was particularly after witnessing strange lights near Kirtland Air Force Base in the late 70s. So he saw these lights flying above the Kirtland Air Force Base, and it kind of really pushed him over that line into doing UFO research. Now, he started, filming and photographing these lights above the base because he thought it was evidence of extraterrestrial activity. So he's like, man, I got, 35 millimeter camera. I got all this kind of stuff. I'm going to start filming this stuff that I'm seeing. And his research actually led him to claim the existence of a secret alien base, including the infamous Dulce base. So, like Matt was saying, the circular thing that we run into, if you didn't listen to our episode on the Dulce base, go back and listen to that episode. And I'm going to say in this one, like I said in the last one, but it didn't do any good. I know the word is dolce. Dolce de leche. I know it's dolce. They pronounce it dulce. So that is why we're pronouncing it dulce. You wouldn't imagine how many comments and emails I got about butchering the language.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah. It's that's how they pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
about 45 minutes north of me is a town that everybody calls Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we were in Louisiana, it would be Lafayette.
Right.
We get it. You can pronounce it any way you want if you live there, and this is the way they choose to pronounce it.
That's it. They choose to pronounce. I mean, like in Tennessee, there's also Lebanon.
Oh, yeah.
It's not Lebanon, even though that's how it's spelled. It's Lebanon. So,
yeah.
All right. Off that soapbox. I just don't want to get another message about butchering the language because I said dulce instead of dolce.
Right.
Now, and because I said that, people are going to do that ironically just so I have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just shot myself in the foot, didn't I?
You can't win.
No, I can't. This is the internet. I'm never win. Now, during Paul's independent study, he claimed that he intercepted electronic communication from different alien spacecraft near Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Bennewitz's UFO research caught the attention of government agencies, notably the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, or the AFOSI. Now, put a pin in the AFOSI. We'll talk about that again here in a minute, but let's move and look at Kirtland Air Force Base. Now, this comes directly from Kirtland's history that they have on their base. So, Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico is a major U.S. Air Force installation with a variety of critical missions and activities. I'm going to jump in. Obviously, we aren't going to find any information on the top secret or black projects that happen there, but this is the front-facing projects that they give us that we can look at what they do.
Right.
So, one, and like I said, this is directly from Kirtland's website and information. One, Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center. It's the key component of Kirtland Air Force Base, and it's responsible for the acquisition, modernization, and sustainment of nuclear systems for both the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy. And it includes four major execution directories: air-delivered capabilities, intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, nuclear command, control and communications, and ground-based strategic deterrent systems. So, some pretty important and high-tech things happening there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's also home to the 58th Special Operations Wing, the 58 SOW. So, this wing provides formal aircraft type model series training for special operations forces, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But Air Force Operational Test and Evaluation Center, so the AFOTEC.
The AFOTEC.
Yeah, exactly. It's headquartered there at Kirtland Air Force Base, and it's responsible for conducting operational tests and evaluations of new Air Force systems to ensure they meet operational requirements. So that's something to keep in mind. They are headquartered in Kirtland, and they are testing new equipment, basically. Also, the 150th Special Operations Wing, so the New Mexico Air National Guard is there, and this unit is an Air Combat Command gained unit and supports special operations missions, and the Kirtland Underground Munitions Maintenance and Storage Complex. This was activated in 1992. It's the largest storage facility for nuclear weapons in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. So the 306th Intelligence Squadron is there. They selected to relocate to Kirtland Air Force Base, and this squadron trains analysts who integrate with Air Force Special Operations Command to enhance situational awareness and threat warnings. Now, the Manhattan Project legacy of this thing, Kirtland Air Force Base was involved in the Manhattan Project during World War II, serving as a transportation hub for scientists and materials related to atomic bomb development. So, Kirtland is a pretty busy place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they keep it moving around over there.
That's for sure. Now, I mentioned the 58th Special Operations Wing there. So let's look at a few of the aircraft that they operate. The UH-1N Iroquois. So these are used for nuclear security and distinguished visitor airlift missions. The H-860G Pavehawk. These are combat search and rescue. H-860 Jolly Green 2. So it's like the Pavehawk series. Yep.
I love that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
The Jolly Green.
The Jolly Green. And the Jolly Green 2.
And when they come in, they go, ho, ho, ho. You know.
Yeah, it's actually Air Force regulations that when you jump off that, you have to do that.
You have to go, Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, as you salute your commander, you have to ho, ho, ho.
But you got to do the Jolly Green Giant, ho, ho, ho. Yeah, it's not the Santa Claus, ho,
Right.
ho, ho.
Right.
It's ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
There's a difference.
One goes up, the other one goes down.
That's right.
The MC-130J Commando 2, which is Special Operations Transport Aircraft. This one's designed for infiltration, exfiltration, and aerial refueling. The CV-22 Osprey, which is the tilt rotor aircraft that if you've not seen an Osprey, you need to look those up.
Oh, yeah, they're cool.
AC-130J Ghost Rider. It's a gunship used for close air support and other special operations missions. Also, it said that during the 1970s, they were testing and developing the U.S.'s first drones for our drone program. So, we've got these drones that we use in combat now. Kirtland is where they were developing and testing these drones when we first started our drone program in the 1970s. Everybody's like, oh, well, drones are a new thing. Well, they're newer, but the military has been working on it for decades.
Right, yeah.
Now, Kirtland Air Force Base began its operational life as Albuquerque Army Air Base in 1941. The U.S. military started constructing the airfield on January 7th, 1941, and it was officially established as a U.S. Army airfield later that year. So the base was named Kirtland Field in February 1942 in honor of Colonel Roy C. Kirtland. It became Kirtland Air Force Base in 1947 as part of the post-war reorganization of the U.S. military. Now, I mentioned the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, or the AFOSI. So briefly, let's talk about that. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations is a U.S. federal law enforcement agency that reports directly to the Secretary of the Air Force. Now, it operates as a field operating agency under the administrative guidance and oversight of the Inspector General of the Department of the Air Force.
Adam, man, I'm telling you, have you ever been just so tired that you couldn't sleep?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like, you're exhausted and you can't go to sleep. Yep. I should be able to fall asleep standing up.
Yeah, you'd think.
And you can't. This happened to me the other night. I had a long, busy weekend, had a beginning of the week was just, it whipped my tail, and I crawled into bed and was like, oh, I'm exhausted, and my eyes went pop.
Yep.
No problem at all. I got up, went to the kitchen, got some, heated up some milk, and I poured in my Beam Dream Powder.
Oh, yeah.
And within 20 minutes, I was snoozing. Oh, man, it is the most amazing stuff. If you're not familiar with it, Beam Dream Powder it's a hot cocoa, and they've got amazing flavors. And you mix it up with water or milk, and you drink it just like a relaxing cup of hot chocolate before bed, but it is filled with sleep-enhancing supplements so that you can fall asleep, stay asleep, and not wake up groggy and zombified.
Right, and Beam is a healthy nighttime blend that's packed with science-backed ingredients that are shown to improve sleep so you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day, whether that's going to work or, if you're solving a cold case out there, then Beam will help you. And it is amazing because you don't wake up groggy like a lot of other things I've tried. You wake up actually refreshed and actually ready to hit it and get it that day. And Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. And it's designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and then wake up feeling awesome. And unlike a lot of the other sleep aids that we've tried, There's no next day grogginess, just great restful sleep. Plus, Dream tastes amazing. And it's actually become part of my nighttime routine because it's so easy and effective. And it's, like Matt said, it's like a hot cocoa that lulls you into sleep, and you can indulge a little bit, treat yourself at night with a great tasting hot chocolate, and you know it's good for you and gonna help you sleep. And with saying all that, that's why Matt and I are so excited to share Beam's Dream Powder with all of y'all. We promise you're gonna like it. And it's because Matt and I are not the only ones that this has helped. Beam has already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people across the country wake up and feel their best.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Beam is giving Graveyard Tales listeners their best offer yet of up to 40% off. Try the best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/grave and use our promo code GRAVE, GRAVE, at checkout.
That's right. That's shopbeam.com/GRAVE and use our promo code GRAVE for up to 40% off. Solve the case of your bad sleep by trying Beam today. AFOSI's primary mission is to identify, investigate, and neutralize serious criminal, terrorist, and espionage threats to Air Force and Department of Defense personnel and resources. So, according to what they're saying here in this blurb about AFOSI, they are an integral part of the security of the Air Force Base and the personnel of the Air Force Base and the Department of Defense.
All right, so let's start looking at Paul Bennewitz and see how he fits into this area. So, from the second floor deck of his home, Paul Bennewitz had started this nightly ritual of watching these lights moving around in the sky above the Air Force Base next to his home. I mean, when you look at photos of Paul Bennewitz's home, he could literally, like, if he could reach over the wall, he could shake hands with the guard. Okay, I mean,
yeah,
his house was like they were his next door neighbors. It was so crazy. But I mean, he had all these military contracts. This was his job. Okay, Thunder Scientific, worked hand in hand with the Air Force, so it made sense for him to be right there.
Right.
I mean,
right.
So not only was he a trusted businessman, he was a vet, and the people knew him, and he had knowledge that regular people didn't have of things that were going on, but he didn't know what this stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of his connection with the military, like I said, he was no stranger to experimental aircraft or weapons, tests, and he was in on all that. But this, he didn't know. But the lights, he describes the lights as, they moved around too fast. This was not anything like what the military currently had. So it caught his attention. And so he would spend a lot of time watching them, and documenting them. Now, during this time, Bennewitz started picking up radio signals, or what he calls these data bursts, that he associated with the moving lights.
Huh.
So he's picking up radio signals, and he lives next door to an Air Force base. that's not really anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
But Paul noticed that these signals were in the gigahertz range, which was well outside of what the military used at the time. Paul started to record these data bursts so he could go back and investigate them. Now, he thought, this is odd. I wonder if they realize this. Thinking, this may be a security problem.
Yeah.
If I can see those things and they are military, everybody else can too.
Mm-hmm.
If I can pick up these signals, so can everybody else. So I should let them know. So he starts kind of investigating these signals to, just to make sure, to see what they are. And he started to notice patterns in the bursts. Now, he couldn't really decipher any of it on his own, so he used an early version of a home computer to try and get more information from the signals. Now, this gets kind of complicated, but bear with me. I tried to make it make as much sense as possible. So Bennewitz actually wrote a piece of software for this computer that he had.
Told you he was smart.
He was smart. And he started feeding this data that he was collecting into the computer. Now, he really wasn't learning much of anything. And what he was getting back didn't make a whole lot of sense. So Paul decided to give the software some keywords to look for, under the assumption that if they were communication signals around the Air Force Base, that they would include certain words like base or ship or air. Okay? It was crude, but he was looking for context. Now, understand, he's not picking up words. Okay? He's just picking up, the signals.
Mm-hmm.
But he notices the patterns, and so he's like, maybe if I can kind of figure out what these patterns, what the patterns mean, I can begin to tell the computer to look for things that are repeating, and this could be air, this could be base, this could be ship, whatever.
Right.
And all he really wanted to get out of it was context. It's like if you over here, Adam and I having a conversation, you don't have any idea what we're talking about, but you start
That's
hearing,
most people.
Yeah. But you start picking up on words that and you go, oh, well, they must be talking about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know, and you certainly don't know any specifics, but you have an idea based on the context around the words that you do know. You're filling in the gaps, and that's what he was asking this computer to do. So gradually, Paul would add more words until he was roughly able to, quote unquote, translate what the signals were saying. And not really into English per se, but into this coded language that allowed him to decipher meaning at first. So pretty soon, he did have enough data to actually send a transmission back on the same frequency.
That's
And
impressive.
To his surprise, he got a reply.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And this, he was able to translate. So the first reply that Paul Bennewitz got went like this. Ground. Women of Earth are needed. Flexible the next discharges our ship, all women. Do not command the North among us. You have many friends. Water very short. Resist all attempts at alteration. Listen, Orange, make peace.
Okay.
Okay, so you see where I'm getting at. this doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
But he's getting the context of it, okay? So the next message that he got started to take shape a little bit. And it went as follows. Victory. Our bases obtain supplies from the starship metal. Time is yanked. Message hit star. Using rejuvenation methods got us in trouble. 6 Sky, we realize telling you all might help you.
Okay.
Right? You're like, I thought this was going to make a little more sense, Matt. Well, not exactly, but do you see something taking shape here?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not completely unintelligible.
Exactly.
It's just a little bit off.
Yeah. But there are key words in here that make you think, okay, we're seeing things like talking about the bases, talking about sky, we're talking about women, which, even aliens, man. You get some aliens together, eventually they're going to start talking about women.
Yeah,
just like guys. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, right? Yeah, absolutely. Is it strange? Hell yeah, it's strange. I mean, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. And the responses continued. And they would contain phrases like, the number of our crash saucers is 8. And alien forces mean no help to you. And another one, our race is dying on the home planet.
Uh-oh.
So, now you put all this together, you can sort of see what Paul was seeing at the time. This sounds like alien transmissions.
Yeah, it does.
Especially when you see terms like starship and stuff like that.
Home planet.
Yeah. Home planet. What a giveaway.
Now, so are they from the UK? Is that is that what they mean?
Maybe. I saw this clip. I don't know what made me when you said, are they from the UK? I saw this clip of David Tennant. You know who that is? So he's like a teacher. Okay. And there's like a student. She's like, I know you. And he's like, I am a teacher. They're like, yeah, teacher. You're a 947-year-old time lord is what you are. Which,
Yep.
if you're a Doctor Who fan, I've watched it some, but David Tennant is the best Doctor, I thought.
Doctor Who?
I like him. Yeah, exactly. I don't know on third. But so Bennewitz continued to study the transmissions, and in his mind, he determined that the home planet of these aliens was dying, and that there were multiple different races of aliens on Earth, and they apparently need women.
We've heard that a few times.
Mars needs women.
Yeah, right.
So most of these aliens, Paul determined, looked like the typical alien that we all know and love, the Greys. The big eyes, the round heads and all that, skinny body. But Paul also believed that there was another race that looked very similar to humans and might not be as easily identified. Like the only difference was they were a lot better looking.
Yeah.
What does that sound like? The Nordic.
Nordics, the tall white. Yeah.
Yeah. They look like, Swedish ski models or something,
Right.
All the blonde hair, blue eyes, 6'4", So he was now convinced that an alien invasion was coming, and he decided that he needed to warn everyone. So he began to write out his theories and set out to present it to the Air Force. Now, again, like I said earlier, he was a veteran. He was a current trusted military contractor, So they gave him the opportunity to present his findings. And so he explained that the people of Earth had to be warned so that they could prepare to defend themselves. Surprisingly, the Air Force heard him out, and they wanted to investigate further. So the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, or the OSI, Adam mentioned them earlier, were brought in to review Paul's work. The Air Force ultimately decided to fund his research. And an agent was assigned to assist Bennewitz with this work. And that agent was named Richard Doty. If you are, into UFO stuff, if you like to watch UFO documentaries, you know exactly who Richard Doty is.
Yep.
You've probably heard this story too if you're watching these shows.
That's true. But
if you don't,
if you know who Richard Doty is, then you know this story.
That's right. True enough. But the thing about it is Doty, he is a polarizing figure in the UFO community.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't have to dig very deep to find Doty's name all over the military-affiliated UFO stories.
Right.
His name comes in there, either because he was involved with it, or in more recent times has spoke out as somewhat of a whistleblower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Not necessarily a good guy in this story.
Yeah.
Now, Doty went to Bennewitz's house to review all of his photos, the recordings, the video footage that Paul had collected. And the Air Force was all set to bankroll this operation with one caveat. Whatever Paul's research uncovered, it was only to be presented to the Air Force. That was it. You can't tell anybody else about it, and it all comes to us. We're going to give you the money. We're going to fund you, but you can't talk to anybody else but us.
Right.
Okay. So Paul went to work, and soon he felt like he could get enough information to help the Earth succeed in this alien invasion. So, here he is. He's just gathered up all this information. The Air Force is behind him, or at least he feels like they are. And they've given him his own special agent to assist him with this. Everything is, pointing to we're under attack. We just don't know it yet.
Right.
Now, in the late 70s and early 80s, Bennewitz would meet and become friends with a man named Bill Moore. Moore was already famous in the UFO community due to his book, The Roswell Incident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Roswell.
Yep.
In fact, the majority of the details that we know about the Roswell incident come from Bill Moore's book.
Yeah.
So all the stuff you've heard podcasters talk about, all the stuff you've seen on documentaries, probably 80% of that information is from Bill Moore's book.
Yep. Thank Bill Moore.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing. Underwear drawers for a lot of people are like the Wild West of wardrobes. For a long time, there was no rhyme or reason to the underwear I was wearing. It was like I had a pair from 6 years ago, and then I had a new pair. None of them matched. They were all just as uncomfortable as the other one. It was just underwear, And the thing is, we have totally revamped our underwear drawers in this house. We have gotten on the Me Undies train, and now all we have, me, Ashley, and Michael, are Me Undies underwear, and we love it because the first time we tried it, we were hooked. They are so soft, so comfortable. I love the ones that have the ball caddy. I know Matt doesn't, but I love the ball caddy in there. It's great. And we have gotten on a like a jogger and lounge pant thing from them. Dude, I'm sitting here in the lounge pants. I know I look professional up top, but I got my lounge pants on, and they are so comfortable, so soft, and they just keep getting softer the more you wear them.
Oh, I know. Oh, God, those lounge pants are amazing. And, you know, there's a style for everyone, from all black classics to fun, expressive prints like the hearts that I'm wearing tonight. MeUndies has a look for everyone. Plus, they come in sizes extra small to 4XL, guaranteeing a flattering cut for every body. And we mentioned the versatile lounge wear. I mean, it's not just about underwear. Explore the lounge collection featuring comfy joggers, hoodies, onesies, and more. And their Move Me activewear collection is the softest activewear on the market.
It really is.
Yeah. And you can feel good about buying MeUndies because they are responsibly sourced. They use sustainably sourced materials and work with partners that care for their workers. And they are problem-free. If you're not happy with your first pair of MeUndies, it's on MeUndies.
That's amazing.
Try doing that with any other underwear company. It's not gonna happen.
No
if
joke.
you don't like them, they will absolutely give you your money back. That they know you're gonna love them.
Yeah, I know you're gonna love them.
Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping on orders of $75 or more at MeUndies.com/graveyard and enter our promo code GRAVEYARD. That's GRAVEYARD.
That's right. That's MeUndies.com/graveyard and use our code GRAVEYARD for 20% off. MeUndies. Comfort from the outside in.
Now, Moore and Bennewitz would correspond periodically, and they would share information, and they would meet every few months or so over the span of about a year. And during one of these meetings, Paul related his frustration with the Air Force to Moore, telling him, I am sending them boatloads of data. And I mean, I'm doing this every week. And the Air Force is not giving me any feedback. They're not telling me what they think. They're not telling me good job, kiss my foot, nothing. I'm getting radio silence back from the Air Force, and I'm feeding them all of this information, just tons of it. And he said it's getting kind of tiresome.
Right. It's just downright disrespectful now.
Well, yeah, I mean, he thought they were with him on this, but he's not getting anything back from them. So now he's beginning to wonder, am I just doing grunt work for them? Are they doing something with this and not including me? You know, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But in 1981, Moore provided Bennewitz with a secret government file called Project Aquarius. Now, the date on the file was almost a year prior, and it showed that Air Force intelligence was indeed examining Paul's work, but it just wasn't telling him. So Bennewitz was glad to finally know that, well, for certain that the Air Force was going over his data. But why would they lie to him about it?
Right.
Why weren't they sharing anything? It was at this point that Bill Moore gave Paul a very ominous warning. He told him to use the file to further his research, but not to share the information he learned with anyone, including the Air Force. Paul noted that the last paragraph of the document, this is Project Aquarius, read like this: the official U.S. government policy and result of Project Aquarius is still classified top secret with no dissemination outside official intelligence channels and with restricted access to MJ-12. Case on Bennewitz is being monitored by NASA/INS, who will request all future evidence be forwarded to them through the AFOSI/IVOE because of a chance of public exposure. So it was a little strange, to Paul at the time. But again, his deal with the Air Force was, I'm just going to give you the information that I collect. I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to publish it. I'm going to give it back to you.
Right.
So they didn't tell him what they were going to do with it, nor did he think he was going to be the person that was going to decide how the information was used. Yep. He thought he was helping.
Need to know basis.
Yeah. But MJ-12 shows up in this paragraph.
Right.
And again, if you, it's one of these things. If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know, I'm going to tell you. MJ-12 is referring to Majestic 12, which was a group of 12 individuals who govern the flow of information pertaining to any and all UFO sightings or activity. Every single bit of it. If somebody went out in their backyard to smoke a cigarette and looked up and saw some funny lights and told anybody about it, Majestic 12 knew about it.
Yeah.
And made the determination who else would know.
Right.
Who else would be brought in. A lot of times it was nobody.
Yeah, most of the time, nobody.
Yeah. So seeing Majestic 12 mentioned in this, it thickened the plot exponentially. I mean, this was, red flags now are starting to spin. What had he really uncovered?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, now he's beginning to wonder, what are they involved with?
Yeah. If MJ-12 and AFOSI are now involved,
yeah.
What did I get into that, I knew I was into something big, but it seems like I'm into something even bigger now that they're involved.
Exactly. So he begins to think that if he did discover plans of an alien invasion, why wasn't the government sounding the alarm? Why weren't they going public with this? Why were they funding his research only to keep all the data to themselves, not even sharing it with him, the researcher?
Mm-hmm. Valid questions.
Yeah. And now this Majestic 12 enters the picture. Paul began to smell something fishy. So he decided to try and check it out for himself. Now, Bennewitz was a pilot. So he began to do flyovers in the area where he thought the underground headquarters of the Majestic 12 would be. And that area was the Archuleta Mesa near Dulce, New Mexico.
Right.
Okay. So he starts doing flyovers. Paul discovers these suspicious domes and these huge towers and these large vents that would lead underground. And these were all around the mesa. So he took photographs and documented this information in his reports for the next several years. So he's telling them, look at all this. Look, what is this? What's going on?
Is he thinking they don't know about it? Or is he just saying, here's what I know, you need to tell me?
Well, I think at this point he's not sure. Okay, it's suspicious, and he really is still on board with this idea that we're prepping for an alien invasion. That he had intercepted communication that was describing an alien invasion.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But you got to remember, while he's doing this over a period of years, doing these flyovers, he's still monitoring and decoding the transmissions that he was receiving. So that hasn't stopped. He's still doing it. And so at this point, he determined that the aliens actually had an agreement with the U.S. government. But that agreement was breaking down. Okay? There was some strain in the relationship here. Okay? Somebody came in drunk, said some stuff they didn't mean.
Made a joke about an alien's wife.
Yeah, maybe
stuff you shouldn't do.
They were, sleeping on the couch for a few nights. Anyway, things weren't looking all nice and rosy between the U.S. and the aliens. So Bennewitz created a document that he called Project Beta. Now, Project Beta contained the plans for an alien takeover. Okay? It had a battle strategy to combat them and an energy weapon that Paul felt could be used to defeat them.
Energy weapon, huh?
Yeah. And you know what's really cool? Remember, we said this dude is pretty smart. He actually created a prototype of this energy weapon. Okay? I mean, he's not fooling around.
No. He's on board with this. He thinks there's an invasion coming.
And I know when I've kind of I've paraphrased this story a lot. And I'm really just giving you the main meat of it. But you got to understand the timeline here. This has been going on for years.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
This is not a few weeks.
Yep.
Or just a couple months.
Not a 6-month endeavor.
Yeah,
this
is years of this that he's working on this stuff. Now, according to his Project Beta, the aliens had abducted about 300,000 Americans and had implanted them with devices that would allow each human with this device to be used as a mobile camera and microphone.
Well, that's not good.
Right. These implants could also produce false memories in the brain, or could shut it off entirely. I mean, you could just flip a switch.
Turn them into a zombie.
Yeah. Boom, they're done. Put them to sleep. But the scary part is that Bennewitz claimed that these Americans had been placed back into society, which would have given the aliens a significant advantage. I mean, now you've got 300,000 double
sleeper
agents.
cells.
Yeah. So the document also included information about human experiments performed in the underground base at Dulce. Now, if you want to know more about that, like Adam said, go back and listen to our episode specifically about Dulce, New Mexico. We discuss the human alien experiments where they were splicing human and alien DNA, and all this kind of stuff, and what witnesses around there had claimed they had seen or come into contact with. So go check that out. You don't have to hear it to understand this story. But if you like this and you haven't gotten to that one yet, it's about a year old. Go back and listen to it. You'll dig it. This will make a lot more sense.
Or Paul, it won't. I don't know.
Or it may not. Wait till we get to the end. You're going to be like, God dang. No. So Paul sent Project Beta to senators and to other elected officials, even the president.
Huh.
But the only reply he ever got back from it was a form letter. And the form letter said that Project Blue Book had been closed and that the Air Force no longer investigated UFOs.
Sure.
Well, you know, to you and I, you think, oh, bummer. You know, they're not doing the UFO thing anymore. But wait a minute. Paul had Project Aquarius. So he was sure that this was a lie.
Yeah.
You know, because he had the documentation of what they'd been doing with a lot of the research that he had been providing them. So he, in his mind, he knew they were still doing it. Okay? But now he was afraid that government officials may be among those who had been implanted. So now the government itself has been compromised.
Yeah.
So over the next few years, Paul became more and more paranoid. He was convinced he was being watched and started hiding weapons all over his house. Guns, knives, you name it. He claimed that aliens had been coming into his home at night and injecting him with something that compelled him to drive out into the desert late at night, and then he would wind up back at home by morning with no recollection of what had happened.
It's a weird compulsion to have.
Yeah, really weird. And if he had no recollection, how did he know that he had driven to the desert?
Exactly.
I don't know. It doesn't ever, all the research I did doesn't ever say that anybody saw him or anything, but he wasn't alone. I mean, he lived there. I mean, it was his house.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in the neighborhood.
He had a family.
He had a family, he had his wife, he had children, so they were all witnesses to this. So I'd imagine at some point they were like, where the hell are you going at night?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know why. These aliens are coming in and they're shooting me up with something that I can't resist it. I have to drive out into the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what that sounds like?
Oh, yeah.
Think about your dad coming in and you're young enough to still be living at home. And he gives you this kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
And you go,
okay,
what the hell, Dad? I mean, what's going on with you?
Mm-hmm.
And
I knew you were eccentric, but geez.
Yeah. And that's what his family was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is going on with Dad? He's losing it. Now, Richard Doty and Bill Moore both stated that they actually saw needle marks on Paul's arms. And so they started to encourage him to just give up. They were like, look, this is getting out of control, Paul. You need to pull the plug on this.
Yeah.
Okay. These were the two men that were encouraging him.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're coming to him going, look,
back off, buddy.
You're driving to the desert in the middle of the night. You've got needle marks on your arms. This is not good.
Right.
They can obviously get to you. They can get to your family. You need to stop. And Paul's
You're in
family,
too deep.
Yeah, they asked him repeatedly to stop and destroy all of the equipment that he had. I mean, you got to think, if you're seeing this, not only are you concerned for your husband or your father's safety or his mental health, you're gonna begin to worry about your own.
Sure. Putting me at risk now, Dad.
Yep. But he couldn't stop. He was obsessed. He even went so far as to barricade himself inside his house and block all the doors and windows with sandbags. This was the last straw for the Bennewitz family. They could no longer sit by and watch him fall just deeper and deeper into madness. I mean, they just couldn't do it. So they had him committed to a psychiatric facility. Now, over the next few years, Paul Bennewitz would be hospitalized multiple times And then subsequently, he passed away in 2003 at the age of 75. So you kind of see why this story is sad.
Yep.
Is, this guy dedicated, I mean, the estimates are like 25 years he worked on this. 25 years. I mean, he dedicated himself to this out of fear that, we were about to be attacked by aliens. I mean, he had gathered so much evidence. Okay. At one point, I don't think I mentioned this. He was still doing his flyovers. So you've got to realize, the things that he saw and the things that he had been exposed to were real. I mean, he didn't dream this stuff up. These documents were real. These radio signals were real. He was doing the flyovers and he saw the domes and the towers. And, after things had kind of, felt like they were kind of getting out of control during his last flyover at Dulce, he saw scorched patches on the ground and down trees. And he even saw aircraft that appeared to have been shot down. He said it looked like a battle had taken place in the skies above Dulce. So, Bennewitz, that's when he really thought, man, we have got to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
That was part of what prompted him to start Project Beta. So all of this stuff was, it was real, not just to him. It was, he was seeing this. He took photos of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It was real. So you're going, what was going on? Now, if you're, my age, you get to thinking back. I was alive in the 80s. I don't recall an alien invasion.
No.
I don't recall friends acting different because they had been implanted with something. Or I don't remember seeing on the news about aerial battles in New Mexico.
Maybe you were implanted, man.
Maybe. But the reason that I don't remember it and you don't either is because it was all a lie.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. Now, like I said at the beginning, when Bennewitz first noticed the lights over the Air Force Base and intercepted the transmissions, he did not immediately think they were alien in nature. He reported it to the Air Force because, again, he thought if a regular guy sitting on his back balcony could see and intercept these things, then anyone could. And that was a potential threat to national security. And the Air Force did actually review Paul's information, and they agreed with him. But instead of telling Paul that what he saw was actually experimental military aircraft and that the transmissions were indeed coming from the base, they decided to lie to him and gave Richard Doty the mission of feeding him disinformation.
Yep.
So
disinformation agent.
Yeah. But why? Why? Really, think about it. Why? Look at the links that they went to convince him that this was real. And for the length of time they did it.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Well,
that's the kicker to me is how long they kept it up.
Oh, I know. Decades.
You do it for a couple months, a year.
Yeah.
But why keep it up for like 25 years?
Do it for a year, feed him some crap, and then just cut him off. Why put up with it? Why do this charade for this length of time?
Yeah. And drive the man insane.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And the reason why officially is that the Air Force was unsure that Paul wasn't working with Russian operatives. And they feared by telling him the truth, it may expose their top secret plans to the enemy. So they drove him insane instead.
Right, sure.
Now, you remember Paul's paranoia that he was being watched? He believed that they were spying on him from the vacant house across the street, they being the aliens and all this.
Right.
Well, guess what? They were. The NSA had set up shop in the house across the street and had kept a very close eye on Bennewitz. So close that they were actually able to break into his home and switch out his computer so that when Paul translated the messages, the results would be what the NSA wanted him to have. I mean, you talk about the long con. They were all in. They were pot committed, brother.
Yep.
I mean, they went to, it was like spared no expense in convincing this poor man that these aliens were real. Even to the point of setting up the domes, the towers, the vents, around Dulce and the Archuleta Mesa to convince him when he did these flyovers that this is, he was seeing. So like I said, what he was seeing was real. Physically, it just was a facade.
The source was not what he thought.
Exactly. So a lot of people look at Paul's story and they go, this doesn't really make sense. Why would they go to these lengths? I understand if you think this guy may be in cahoots with the Russians or somebody else. We can't just tell him the truth that we have this top secret technology. Because, if he turns and gives this information to our enemy, we're in big time trouble. But why go on with it for so long until, you've destroyed this man? I mean, you ruined his life,
right?
You drove him insane. And, there's a lot of reports that, he actually committed suicide, and he didn't die of natural causes. It is a sad, terrible story, but in a lot of ways, it brings about more questions than it does answers. A lot of folks feel like that they went to these great lengths to convince him of this because there was something that they were hiding. And instead of trying to convince him that it was something totally different, they just gave him another path to follow away from what was really going on.
Right.
And when you listen to the Dulce episode, we'll talk about what people have witnessed, people that were supposedly actually there and what they saw. And then you begin to think, well, maybe he was onto something, but maybe he let himself be known that he knew something. And so they had to interfere because they figured, look, if he can get this close to this stuff, he's going to find out the real secrets, and we cannot have that.
Right.
Okay. Right. And a lot of it are like, well, man, how in the heck do we know all this? Did the Air Force just say, hey, everybody, this is what we did to this poor guy? No. It's because Richard Doty at not too long ago came clean about all of it.
Yep. His NDAs expired.
Right. And so he began to share the story. And that's how we know that Bill Moore, the author who wrote the Roswell incident, did not befriend Paul Bennewitz by chance. He was introduced to Paul through Richard Doty.
Right.
So he was set up. I mean, he was put in there. Now, this had nothing to do with the book. It had everything to do with the fact that Bill Moore was a semi-celebrity in the UFO culture, and introducing him into this mix with Paul Bennewitz, it would get his attention.
Mm-hmm.
He would believe things from Bill Moore that he probably wouldn't have believed from another Air Force official or from some rando that they drug in there.
Right.
You know, but he puts a lot of credence into what Bill Moore had to say, so he would believe it. Now, they even talk about the fact that Bill Moore actually saw the document Project Aquarius, the real one, and that he kind of faltered when they gave him this one to give to Paul Bennewitz because it was different. And they said, well, it's redacted. It's been kind of, I think the word they used was sanitized.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just in case we give it to this guy and he goes berserk and puts it on the damn news or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but you know,
It's a
Moore
good
was
story.
kind of like, I don't know. This is not, I've seen the real thing.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's the same. Don't worry about it. It's the same. But it wasn't, according to Bill Moore. It was not the same. And according to Richard Doty, that was part of the information that they were feeding was, you know, we gotta make this Project Aquarius look legitimate enough that Paul Bennewitz believes it.
Yeah.
Without us sharing a whole lot of extra information with Bill Moore. You know, we're kind of not going to be straight with him either.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
He's going to know more what's going on, but we're not going to give him the full story.
Even playing the players.
Yeah. So it's just, it is an unbelievable story, about, you know, what lengths the Air Force went to keep him from finding out any more. It sure does seem like way too much and too long to just prevent somebody from learning that they had some top secret experimental aircraft,
Right.
doesn't it?
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I think it is.
Well, and I've heard Doty speak a time or two, and he's actually coming out and saying that Bennewitz was actually onto some legit stuff as far as aliens go.
Yeah.
And he's actually come out and talked about what David Grush here lately has been saying.
Right.
That we did have biologics. You know, we did uncover or recover a downed aircraft and all this kind of stuff. So he's like, and it's hard to know with Doty because his initial job was a disinformation agent.
Right.
And even though his NDAs are expired, do we know he's for serious now? Or,
right.
you know, is
Right.
he just playing the rest of us now?
Yeah. I mean, he lied for years
Yep, decades.
because that was his job.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, you know, if he had just lied, you know, just like, hey, you know, but this was his mission. This
Yep.
was his purpose, was to do exactly this.
And he was good at it.
This counterintelligence operation that they ran for all these years. It just, like I said, it just seems like it's way overkill. It's it's killing a fly with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, so I don't know. I kind of feel like that Paul Bennewitz was closer than he actually knew to the real story, or at least had brushed up against it.
Yeah.
Enough to make the Air Force bristle, going, whoa, oh.
He's getting a little too close.
Yeah. You're like, if he keeps at this, he's going to start asking questions, or he's going to find out something that we really don't want him to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to flood him with a bunch of crap to distract him from it.
Lead him down another path.
That's counterintelligence 101.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to flood you with so much other information that you're not going to be able to disseminate what's real and what's not.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like we've seen with other UFO disinformation stuff. They have one thing that's legit, but they are fed so much other stuff that's on the ridiculous side that can be disproven pretty easily. And then when you repeat the stuff that's easily disproven, then, now everything you've said, nobody can believe.
Exactly.
Even though you had a piece or two that was correct.
Yeah. Yeah. If 9 things you say are completely false, then why would this one thing be true?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. But what do you guys think? Are you familiar with this story? Have you seen the documentaries with Richard Doty talking about what they did to him? Let us know. And the best place to do that is in our Facebook group. It's called The Graveyard. Just go to Facebook and search Graveyard and you'll find us. Huge group, lots of people, fantastic stories, great place to come and share your personal experience because nobody's going to call you a nut job. We all just love reading about these stories.
Yep.
I mean, it's why we're in here. Don't forget to check out our website, graveyardpodcast.com. And there you can find links to purchase Graveyard Tales merchandise. You can listen to the show and you can become a patron. And thank you to everyone who has donated to the work that Adam and I do. We sincerely appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. So, for the Paul Bennewitz story, maybe I'm about to sign off. Maybe I'm not. You never know. Until next time, we'll save you a seat in the graveyard.
See you soon.